Was the biggest comeback of the season for the Houston Astros. It was a devastating start for Framber Valdez. It just seemed like hit after hit. It reminded me of that Game 4 of the 2015 ALDS against the Royals, and it just seemed like Brett Chansey went to the game, and I was like, you're never allowed to go to another game. But the Astros turned around thanks to Yordan Alvarez, and we'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Astros podcast.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Heisman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chansey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Heisman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can I find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. Download the app and join us this week. We're going to probably do it on Friday or Saturday. We'll talk about one of those great games. I'm sure it's going to be another win against the New York Yankees because the Yankees are coming down this week, and we like to use the Green Room as a way to kind of get in touch with fans, and we have a good discussion with some of our loyal listeners, and we like to hear the input of some of our loyal fans, and we like to have that discussion and just hear what y'all like to say. So this was a big win. I'm not just saying that for the big comeback, but the Astros are now a season high 4.5 games ahead of the A's in the AL West, and Yordan Alvarez comes back from paternity leave, and he is a daddy for the first time after being your daddy. He is actually a daddy now, and so that's a big time deal. So guys, don't forget to subscribe to the Locked On Astros podcast on YouTube, please. We have just now surpassed 600 subscribers. We're trying to get to 700. And I said that if we get to 700 before midnight, it's not going to happen because we only got an hour left. I would go and shave this beard, but it's not going to happen. So
you set that up so nicely.
Yeah,
wow, you gave yourself the right amount of cover. That was actually
I did it at 6 o'clock though.
That was a smart move. Yeah, you didn't really give it a whole lot of time to marinate. That's like throwing like marinade on a steak for like 30 minutes.
That was like 6 hours. I gave it 6 hours though. But anyway, you can go and if you don't want to do YouTube, you can also listen to audio version on Odyssey, on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you listening to podcasts. Just listen to Locked On Astros podcast, and thank you for listening every day. And we are your daily Astros podcast. So let's talk about this awesome game. It wasn't so great for Framber Valdez. He gave up a lot of hits, and it wasn't so great.
No, yeah, at the beginning, like literally the first 4 pitches, there were 3 hits and 1 run. It was 4 strikes, 4 pitches, 3 hits, 1 run. And it looked like it was going to be an absolute disaster. I mean,
it was 13 pitches and it was already like 1 run or something. I'm like,
like I said, it was 4 pitches, 1 run, 3 hits. That was insane. He came back, got a strikeout on the next batter, but they gave up 6. He gave up 6 runs in the first 2 innings, and then after that, they didn't score anything. And one of our friends, one of our loyal listeners, John Bruton, was sitting closer to home plate. I was out in right field. Literally, I could like throw a baseball and play catch with Kyle Tucker if I wanted to. I was that close to him. But I couldn't see really the pitches from that angle. And he said like Framber was like hitting the corners. He was throwing good pitches and they were all over it. I think Framber was tipping his pitches. He had to have been because they were jumping on everything he was throwing.
He throws strikes. That's what he does. He throws strikes.
I know, but this season he's thrown strikes and he struck people out. What I'm saying is they were hitting everything on the button. So there was something they were seeing because they were stealing on the right pitches. They were doing everything right. And it was like clockwork.
Are you saying they're stealing signs?
I mean, maybe the Oakland A's are cheating. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, wow. You heard it here first on Locked on Astros podcast. So I think
No, it's all good.
I think I have a quote from where is it? He said, Framber Valdez says in reality, they surprised me with their aggressiveness. So yeah, they're very aggressive today, and that's something that you can't really say for a lot of people that face Framber Valdez. I mean, he is one of those guys that throws a lot of strikes, but he normally controls his own really well, and he knows how to pitch. But somehow, for some reason, the A's were very aggressive today, and they swung first, second pitch, and they just they were able to put the ball in play, and they really found a way to find a hole. And
and there's something to be said about hitters when they ambush a pitcher when he is a control pitcher and he does it on the strike zone. At the same time, the way they were hitting it, it wasn't that they were just making contact. They were hitting it just on the nose. And yes, the defense at first was horrible. There were several mistakes by Altuve, Correa, Maldonado. There were a lot of things that happened early on. And this is what's great about this team is here's the deal, okay? This team can overcome its mistakes, okay? When we were losing these games at home against Detroit and against the Orioles, we didn't try to come back in any of those games. Like nothing changed. If they went up with the lead, they kicked our butts, right? This is a good team. This is home. And we just put 4.5 games now between us and Oakland. And we're doing this, Eric, without Bregman. Bregman has a lifetime 891 OPS. Okay. He's not even on this team. We're doing this. Miles Straw, a defensive play, catches a ball, plays it perfectly off the wall, turns around, throws it to Correa. Correa relays the ball to home, and they nail Chad Pinder at the plate. That was the good defense. See, that's what they did. They made mistakes in the beginning, and they fixed it. And that's when can you imagine, and we'll talk about this later, can you imagine if we go out and get a top-line relief pitcher and Pedro Baez comes back and our bullpen is healthy? There's no way that this team isn't the favorite going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I know that I think Johnny's bringing up that the Astros are 10-2 when Yordan Alvarez plays left field. I know he typically plays mostly when Valdez is out pitching because he doesn't get a lot of fly balls out, especially to left field. But did he get it? I don't know. I didn't really pay attention.
He caught, he caught. I mean, he caught a few. There were no challenging plays, but you remember when you and I actually talked about this because Yordan Alvarez said he feels better at the plate. He feels more in rhythm when he's in the field.
Right. I actually got the stats for that.
Yeah, go ahead. Bring it up.
Right here. Wait. Somewhere. Go and talk until I find it.
Okay. But man, so that first shot that Yordan hit, like I wasn't sure it was going out. It looked like it had this trajectory and it dove really quick. It hit the top of the wall. And then the second one was an absolute no doubter. It was complete pandemonium. It felt like the playoffs. Okay. And of course, I'll tell you this. Let me tell you when the tides turned. And I think I would like to think that I had something to do with it. This random guy, it was like 6-0. And this random guy stands up and he's like, "Let's go, Oakland." And like you could hear it in the whole stadium. And I stood up and I go, "Where's Mike Fiers?" And it shut him up. And then the Astros turned the corner. It was all me. I mean,
that's all you did.
It was thanks, man. Hey,
All right. In 12 games when he started in left field, Yordan Alvarez is 15 for 38 with 6 home runs, 10 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Wow. And he said last week that he feels good being out there and allows him to feel better rhythm in the game. That's what you're just talking about.
Exactly.
So, and then Johnny just said the Astros are 10-2 when Alvarez is out there in left field. So that just means that it's kind of like wasn't it Gaddis that said that he felt better when he was the actual catcher versus the DH back in the day. Yeah. So some players just don't like to be that DH, and so maybe Alvarez is that type of guy.
And this is what we got to think about. I know he just had double knee surgery, but he's young. He's a strong player. He's not some feeble. He's not some like 6'5" guy that's skin and bones. He's not like Tracy McGrady was. Like Tracy McGrady had back issues because his legs were like chicken legs. I mean, he had no muscles in his lower trunk. Yordan is solid from the feet all the way up. He's got a solid core. He's got a solid base. And I think the Astros, and I think a lot of pro teams tend to baby their players that are high. I mean, he's a high level asset, Eric, because if he gets injured young in his career, then he's not worth anything to you in the future, right?
Right.
But they need to loosen up on that a little bit at home in this left field where there's not a whole lot of place for him to play or have to run into a corner. He can learn that outfield pretty well, and Miles Straw in center field helps that.
All right, guys. I know a lot of y'all are kind of participating through the chat, but we want y'all to be part of the actual show as well. So the Green Room is one of those ways you can participate in as part of the podcast, and where you can actually have your voice be heard, not just the chat like y'all are doing right now. And we can put that on the screen during podcast, but you guys should be part of the show. So Brett, tell us a little bit about Spotify Green Room.
Yeah, so Green Room is a perfect place to start or join a conversation with guys like myself, H-Town Wheelhouse, and Eric Heisman. You'll find fans in the Green Room. They will do watch parties. There will be debates, post-game breakdowns, and of course, reacting to all the big news or rumors. You will have a chance to chat with myself and with Eric when we have our Green Room conversations. Be sure to join us this week. We'll be doing it Friday or Saturday this week during the Yankee series. That will be a fun conversation. And we'll make sure that it doesn't get too dicey if a Yankees fan comes in there and tries to chop it up with us. We will make sure that we control the room. But Green Room is a first audio platform made for sports fans. The app is free to download. Once you're in, you can talk to us. So do this. Go to your mobile device and look up the app Green Room. It's by Spotify, and check it out. Download it. It's free. Join all the Locked On hosts. Join the MLB group, the NBA group, and the NHL group, and you'll find a Locked On show or Locked On host for just about any pro team. Green Room is changing the way that we talk about sports.
All right, so I want to go ahead and talk a little bit. I want to go and do the Thoughts by Dusty real quick.
Thoughts by Dusty.
All right, so after today's game, this is what Dusty Baker have to say about today's game. Comebacks are always great. It builds character. That was as great a comeback I've seen this year. This was, I already said this. This just adds to our confidence level moving forward.
Now, wait, does he say it this dramatically, or are you adding the dramatic?
Like somebody said, I sounded like robot last time I'm doing it, so I'm trying to add more.
I like it. No, it's all good.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
And this is Dusty Baker also. The fans gave us a lot of energy.
Oh yeah, you are missing a toothpick. Yeah. Okay. So
I need to
yes,
get some toothpicks. Okay,
Eric. Let the witness, not the witnesses, let the jury know that I, Brett Chansey, H-Town Wheelhouse, tried to stop the wave valiantly. I stopped the wave before Yordan got up to bat and hit a second home run. The wave started back up, and guess what happened to Yordan's next at bat? He got walked.
Walked? Okay.
No, he got walked. Yeah. So
yeah, they want to know part of him. He already had that home run, the 2 home runs, and they're like, yeah, we
I
want
blame it on the
part
wave.
of him. And like I went with my brother is in town from North Carolina, and he has a friend who's in town. And I'm not going to say any names, but if you're listening, you know who you are. Yeah, he told me that Mike Fiers is on the active roster. And so when I got home from this, I'm like, let me look at the active roster, because I would have heard about that, but he's not on an active roster. So I know a lot of people have been saying in chat, where is Mike Fiers? We want to see Mike Fiers. But why do we want to face Mike Fiers so bad? I mean, what is it about Astros fans that we want to face Mike Fiers so bad? Is it going to make a difference? I mean, do we want to just
it's because
him? Like by hitting home runs off of him? I mean, would that make us feel better after him?
It would make yes, snitches get home runs in stitches. I think that's how it goes. Anyways, yes, it would be so satisfying. Mike Fiers. Oh my gosh, dude. The last time we faced him, we completely shelled his butt. Yeah. He's not a good pitcher. His only no-hitter was because he had pine tar from head to toe covering himself. And it was just a sham of a no-hitter. You know all about that. Yes, it would be 100% satisfying. What's better than beating the Yankees? Beating Mike Fiers at Minute Maid Park. He's scared. He's running. The A's are hiding him. I don't care that he's injured or not. When he hasn't been injured, they've hid him. Like cowards, that's okay. They're going to be the second place possibly third pace, because let me tell you, Seattle's better to be in a good team right now than the Oakland A's are. The Oakland A's are kind of falling apart a little bit, it seems like.
Yeah. So I know that Mike Fiers is still on the IL, so he's not going to face the Astros this time around. We don't know what's going to happen. So I don't want to focus on him at all. But I know
Hey,
the
you brought
Astros.
it up.
I know, but just because somebody brought him up, and I'm like, oh, cool, we get to face him, and then I get home, and he's like, oh. I'm like, oh man. I thought we would hear about it a little bit more, but so let's talk a little bit about the Astros bullpen. I know this is a big topic of conversation. I know we talked about the trade deadline coming up, and I know you're on Sports Sports Radio 610
Yes.
today, and you're talking about the trade deadline, and it's coming up. And I know there's a lot of names out there. We're probably going to have to talk a little bit about this as we go. There's a long time before the trade deadline actually happens. But it looks like the Astros bullpen, they really saved Framber Valdez's butt today. And one of the people that did that was Brian Abreu. He really pitched really well. This is his first time. He was one of the corresponding moves. There's three. We didn't talk about this yesterday because we were talking a lot about the prospects. But Brian Abreu came back and he pitched 2 great innings today. He only allowed that 1 hit with the 2 strikeouts. And so he really looked great today. And it looked like that time off really did him some good. Then Stanek came back in and pitched good. Then the all-star Ryan Presley came in good. So these guys are like, oh, okay, our GM saying that they need to go make a trade. So we don't want to lose our job. So let's pitch pretty good.
This is what's important. In all of the relief innings, in the 4 relief innings that the relief pitchers threw, they had 0 walks and they had 4 strikeouts. Overall, as a team, we had 10 strikeouts and only 2 walks. That is huge because control has been an issue for our relief pitchers. And for them to come in, these are confidence builders. Abreu, I think, needs confidence. He has the stuff. He has the velocity. It's always been the control with him. Brent Strom has this guy set up in his mind to be a starter in the major league. And so you know that he's just got to get to that place mentally. And I think that's where he's fallen short, is the mental side of it, where we've seen Valdez, and hey, give it to Valdez. He gave up 10 hits. He still had 6 strikeouts. He did give up 5 earned runs, but he lasted 5 innings.
Right.
I mean,
that's what Jay Roberts was saying.
Yeah. It's just awesome that he lasted as long as he did.
A lot of young pitchers would have crumbled in that situation.
Yeah.
He gave up the 3 runs in the first inning, and I guess he gave up 6 runs altogether, and then I guess only 5 of them were earned. But so it could have been a disaster. But he stayed in there. He still pitched 5 innings, and he kept the team in game. So what else can you ask for him when he doesn't have his best stuff? And he only walked 2 batters, and it's not like like normally when you look at Framber Valdez and you're like, oh, he gave up 6 runs, you would be like, oh, he must have walked a lot of batters. Remember the old Framber Valdez? He just had no control. But this time it was just like it was like batting practice. And that's not a good sign for Framber Valdez. When he's just throwing batting practice, that's not good. But the bullpen did their job today.
Yeah, like I said, I really think he was tipping pitches. I talked with several different people about it. People were like sending me text messages. They were DMing me during the game, people that were also at the game, and they were like, I'm sitting close, man. He's got to be tipping his pitches because they're seeing these perfect pitches way too well. At the end of the day, Eric, this team still needs some relief help, and they're going to have to go out and they're going to have to get a big arm. Do we want to start talking about that?
Sure. Let's go ahead and bring this up since Buster Olney kind of threw a bomb, and I guess our Astros Twitter kind of took it to.
Well, I mean, he's not even the guy that I'm focused on, but the aspect of Craig Kimbrell coming here, if you do it, it throws you over the luxury tax.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
It is an all or nothing move, right, Eric? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. if Crane goes out and does this and breaks the bank over this, he is essentially saying we are trying to win the World Series this year. It's either this year World Series or bust.
Okay, so let's go and talk about this. So this is what Busteroni said. Mentioned to a high-ranking MLB exec that the Red Sox might be a natural landing spot for Craig Kimbrel. He pushed back and speculated that Kimbrel's destination will come back to either the Astros or the Athletics. Kimbrel will be the most coveted player on the trade market, and so you might be saying, Craig Kimbrel, isn't he the guy that struggles in the playoffs? Yes, but this is also a guy that's having a great season. I looked at his stats earlier, and I'm like, I told Brett, I'm like, whoa, this guy's having a great season. He is making $16 million this year. The Astros would be on the hook. There's a team option for next year.
Okay.
So it's a team option, and there's a $1 million buyout. And so the Astros could buy out of the option if they did trade for him, but they would be over the luxury tax threshold for this year.
Big time. So here's also what you can do. I'm going to give you some names and some teams that we could trade with. I'm going to leave out my favorite one, Francisco.
Can I finish the stats
first?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then we'll do that in a second. So this year with the Cubs, he's with the Cubs. The Cubs are going to be kind of a hard team to trade with, but he's 1-2 with a 0.59 ERA. He has 20 saves already. 20 saves. And so I know a lot of people are saying, well, we don't need a closer. We already have Ryan Presley. Ryan Presley is a good closer, but he can also be a good setup guy. So that's something the Astros have to consider. Just imagine having Presley and then Kimbrel, or Kimbrel then Presley. I think go back and forth.
Well, I think you would go Kimbrel then Presley. I don't think you would take your listen, you're not going to take your save leader and put someone else in his save spot. Kimbrel, if he comes in, will accept his role as a setup guy because he wants to win a World Series title. And that, I think, would be an acceptable thing. You could interchange them, but you're not going to, because you've already handed Presley the mantle. It's his job, and he hasn't done anything to lose it. He's going to the All-Star game.
Yeah. I'm going to go on a limb and say I don't think that a Kimbrel type of trade is going to happen. The Astros, I don't think they have the talent the Cubs will need. I really don't. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but I wouldn't bet on it. It's not. It just doesn't seem like it's built to happen. So let's talk a little bit about Built Bar.
So Built Bar has this new flavor. It's a limited time flavor called Built Grasshopper Cookie. It is one of these types of protein bars. Okay, number one, if this is the first time you listen to the show, Built Bar is a protein bar wrapped in 100% chocolate. It's basically like you're eating a candy bar. This Grasshopper Cookie is basically the Built Bar version of the Thin Mint cookies. All the flavor you want without the sugar. 150 calories, 17 grams of protein, only 5 grams of sugar. They have other flavors if you like coconut, if you like raspberry, mint brownie, strawberry, orange, cookies and cream, German chocolate. The sky's the limit. And so let's just say this. For the macros in these bars, it's healthy, 17 to 18 grams of protein, 130 to 180 calories. 4 to 5 grams of sugar, only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. It's tasty and it's healthy. So go to built.com and use a promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15 and use that promo code to get 15% off your first order off at builtbar.com, the best bar in the business.
All right, we got breaking news. Yordan Alvarez said that the baby did not sleep last night. So he was somewhat tired tonight. So baby Yordan Alvarez, don't sleep ever. Keep Yordan.
Don't sleep ever. That's a terrible thing to say to a baby. Come on, man. You would never say that to your own kid, right?
Well, I know, but if he's going to hit home runs, yeah, but he can take naps during the day. He can take a pregame nap or something like that. So, but yeah, there's a lot of options out there, a little cheaper options. I think if Kimbrel is the top of the market, the Astros are not going to have what it takes to go out there and get that. I mean, there's going to be other teams that have the top prospects out there. And I mean, the Twins, Taylor Rogers, I think he may be somebody the Astros go for. But still, I think
Here's the thing. I've heard that the players want Rodgers.
Okay.
The players actually want the Astros to go get Rodgers. Someone literally told me that today. The players are, because I asked them who are the Astros going after, and they said, "No, listen." I was like, "Is Kimbrel a real thing?" They're like, "No, that's more national media." They said the players have voiced that they want Rodgers. They want the Astros to go get Rodgers, and so. If they were to get a Rodgers or even a Kimbrel, it would be one of those block. It would be as impactful as a Justin Verlander type trade. It would be like, oh my God, we actually got him. But here's some other names that I think are realistic choices. You've got Cisnero and Soto in Detroit. Okay. You've got Fry and Scott in Baltimore. Scott and Fry are much higher value, but they're still really cheap options. And you can go for you could go for Scott in Baltimore. You could go for Cisnero in Detroit. You could trade 2 to 4 players for those guys and clear up 40-man roster spots for relievers that are having to be brought up and brought off the injured list. And so you're going to have room on the 40-man roster. So you're not going to want to trade 1 for 1, Eric. What? What's that look for?
Don't give him a big head. Come on. He's already got a big enough head over there.
What? No.
Moises is saying you're the inside man.
No. I'm not the inside man, but I'm telling you, someone that I know told me that the players want Rodgers to be traded for. And I'm telling you, that's credible information. Okay.
All right. So Johnny says we're going to make a trade with Toronto because they always do. Are we getting Francisco Liriano again?
No,
is that going to happen?
No, because then that player will become an all-star like Teoscar Hernandez. No, we want to avoid trading with Toronto, but just look for the names Fry and Scott from Baltimore. Look for Cisnero and Soto, and look for the Astros to maybe try to do something with Rodgers. But here's the thing, too, to think about, Eric. Crane wants another title. Why do you think Crane wants another title? There are 2 main reasons that we haven't even talked about. One, I believe he wants to get Dusty Baker that title. I believe he wants to get Dusty Baker that, because that will ensure that Dusty Baker goes in as a Hall of Fame manager. Number 2, he is sick and tired of people talking crap about his team in 2017. He's tired of it, and he wants to win. And if Crane got to where he was and is successful as a billionaire, you don't think he's competitive? You don't think he takes to heart all this stuff? And I know he kind of fumbled the apology and kind of, he did like businessman moves and it didn't look good. He's probably still got a vendetta. Like, he wants to go out and prove that his club is legit. And those are 2 things that are motivating factors. And they may break the bank and do something we don't even see come out of left field.
Gio, you can keep on dreaming there because that guy is pretty good.
And I don't know about him from the Indians. I think, I don't know. That is another name that's out there, but who do the Indians need and what do we have to offer?
Yeah.
And Eric, who are we going to give up? Are we going to give up Chas McCormick? I mean, are we going to give up Toro?
You're going to have to give up something. And the Astros
don't have costly.
Big name prospects like a lot of teams have. We don't have the top 100 prospects that a lot of teams covet. I know we had Aram on yesterday, and he was saying that there's some players on here that some teams may see as top 100 prospects, but it depends on what teams you trade with. So it depends. And Click said that he's having conversations right now with all 29 teams. And does that mean the Yankees going to go on a fire sale? Would you trade for a Aroldis Chapman? Heck no.
No, I don't know. But Green,
we've already been there. We've already been there with that one.
Green and Loaiziga. I don't know if that's how you say his name. I know that they're out there. Someone asked, do we make a trade before the deadline? Yes, we do something.
I think so. It's not going to be this big blockbuster, but it's going to be something. Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's like, honestly, the mystery. Like, the second I want to say no, they won't. I'm like, but it would be so Astros for them to do that. And, Green is one of those guys. And, the Yankees may be beating up the Mariners tonight, like 8-0 in the 3rd or 4th inning. But the Yankees aren't doing anything this year. They, outside of Garrett Cole and a few good games out of Sanchez and Judge, they are not a very good team. I mean, their pitching staff has fallen apart. Chapman has fallen apart. And I mean, he's given up more than 1 or 2 game-winning shots. I mean, they are not good. They have the same record, or they have a worse record than I
You
think.
don't have the sticky tack anymore, so you know
Exactly. It's really affecting them. But anyways, I mean, think about it though. Our bullpen, once it becomes elite, once Pedro Baez comes back, once we get a couple of these names on this
Jeez.
roster, I mean,
You put Pedro Baez as elite? Wow.
yeah,
But
okay, Eric, we're paying him $6 million.
well,
He's
that
not
doesn't make him elite. That just
okay.
makes him another guy.
No,
So
I said no. I
James
said
Click.
it makes no. Listen, I said it makes the bullpen elite. I didn't say he was. I said it makes the bullpen elite. He is the most seasoned veteran on this bullpen staff.
Yeah, but James Click said that even with all these guys coming back, that does not rule him out from making another deadline acquisition because he knows that the bullpen is a weakness, and there's a lot of stars. If there is a injury in the rotation, you always have Christian Javier. You have somebody that you can move in, and Jose Urquidy. Somebody Moises has been asking us to address this. Let's go and address it real quick. What happens to him when he's healthy? Does he go back in rotation? I think he does. I think that he deserves to go back into rotation. So what happens? I think we're going to see some type of piggyback thing with Luis Garcia. I think Luis Garcia is good, but I think that they're going to try to monitor his innings, and so they're probably going to do some type of piggyback with him.
You want to limit his innings so he is available in the playoffs. He will be a key cog in the
I'm not saying that's
pitching.
what I want to do. I'm just saying that I think that's what they're gonna do. Urquidy has that experience, and he's got that. He's never pitched that many innings. I think his max is 114 innings, but he's got that ability. You kind of know what he can do. But Luis Garcia, he doesn't have that experience, so they're probably going to want to limit him. And the way to do that is by doing some type of piggyback system with him. So does that mean he's not going to start? I don't know. They may do something the same way they do with Jake Odorizzi, something like that. I don't know. I'm not being paid the big bucks like Dusty Baker is, but we'll have to see. And somebody says, is Justin Verlander coming back? Who knows? That only one person knows that, and that's not Ben Verlander. That's
not me.
Justin Verlander.
That's I don't know that either. But remember, that was my big bold prediction of the year that Justin Verlander would make it back and pitch the Astros into the World Series. So,
right.
Eric, I think this All-Star break is going to be exciting. I think leading up to the trade deadline is going to be exciting for the Astros. And if they can just steamroll these next 2 clubs, if they can win the series against Oakland, if they can take at least 2 out of 3 from the Yankees, and Garrett Cole comes back to Minute Maid Park, and imagine if we go in there and we light him up. I mean,
for
that
Pete's
would
sake,
be.
I can't face
Pete's
this
sake.
lineup.
Now,
hey, by the way, this is what. Where is it? This is what Chris Bassett had to say about the Houston Astros. He said, the whole Astros lineup is disgusting, but when you don't have your stuff, good luck. I had nothing today.
Is that how he said it?
Yeah. I can make fun of him. He's not dusty. I can make fun of him.
I know. That's funny. Yeah. So, but I mean, Chris Bassett, dude, there was one at bat, and I forget. I believe it was when he faced Altuve or Correa. One of them went down on strikes. He threw 5 or 6 straight sliders, and they looked at. Oh, it was Altuve. He looked at every one of them, and I'm like, what is his slider doing that they can't pick up? It was high in the zone. I would think that Altuve would sit on the slider like the 3rd or 4th time and just crush it like he did against Chapman. But anyways.
Wait, somebody said, why do we not want Gibson on this team? Is he a bad apple? No, I don't think the Rangers would trade us Gibson.
I don't
they
think
would
no.
If the Rangers
we don't need
a starter, and the Rangers would not trade in the division, and definitely not to the Astros. Hey, I want to tell you all a little secret. The Rangers do not like the Astros. You heard it here.
Yeah. Do you remember 2017? Do you remember them not letting us play at the ballpark in Arlington? Do you remember that? I do. I remember it like it was yesterday. Yeah. So the Southern Oklahoma Rangers
For
or the
Pete's sake,
Arlington
yeah.
Strangers. Yeah. So, and yes, the Yankees are overrated. And finally, the world has seen that the Yankees aren't as great as once advertised by Eric Hubbs of Barstool Sports, who said the Yankees, and I quote, "The Yankees are going to win the next 10 World Series. Why? Because Garrett Cole is our pitcher." And sorry, Hubbs, you were wrong.
All right, so in today's game, it's going to be Sean Manaea versus Luis Garcia. Speaking of the devil, it's going to be Luis Garcia is pitching 6-5. I mean, he's got a 6-5 record with a 3.14 ERA, 90 strikeouts. Sean Manaea, his numbers have kind of, I think
have they
gone
evened
up
out a little bit?
I think I think they've gone up a little bit because he had a little bit better ERA last time I remember, but 6-5 with a 3.13 ERA. It's still good, but I think it was a little bit lower last time we looked, but his strikeouts are 102. So Alvarez, he doesn't have good numbers against him, 143 and 7 at bats. We got Altuve, 237 and 38 at bats, Brantley, 133 and 15 at bats, Castro, 502 at bats. The only one that's had some success versus him is Gurriel in 36 at bats. He's batting 306 with 1 homer. And then Maldonado is batting 415 at bats. And Miles Straw, superstar Miles Straw, is batting 405 at bats. And Kyle Tucker needs to get going, but he's in 12 at bats. He's batting 333 with 2 home runs and 3 RBIs. So versus Luis Garcia, there's not much going on in terms of who's hot. Tony Kemp, of all people, he's got the only home run against Luis Garcia. So this should be, I'm not going to predict a win, but I am. It's versus tomorrow. So
you are, but you aren't.
No, I'm not.
Okay, you're not. I am. I'm going to predict a win. I predicted a win in the first game. I'm going to predict a win in the second game. And hell, I might actually go to this second game. I don't know. No, I'm probably not going to go to game 2, but I will be there Friday against the Yankees. I'm pumped about that.
Yeah, so this should be an interesting game tomorrow, and hopefully the offense kind of shows up a little bit earlier, so it's not so stressful, because that was a pretty weird game. It felt like nothing was going to happen in today's game. But anyway, that's all we got. We'll have more trade deadline talk throughout the whole month. That's what this daily Locked On Astros podcast is for. And if you want more talk, I'm sure they're going to be talking about some trade talk on the Locked On Today podcast. And today on the Locked On Today podcast, why one of the NFL playmakers wants out of the New England. Get more of the sports news you need in less time with the Locked On Today podcast. Follow the Locked On Today podcast on Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast. And we've got a lot of people here. I hate to really end the podcast right now. I guess we can continue going and just kind of cut it here if you want to, Brett. But but don't forget to subscribe to the Locked On Astros podcast on YouTube. And don't forget we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and go Astros. And let's hopefully we can get another victory tonight versus the A's. All right,
And
we're back for the after party.
This is the show. No, it's the show after the show. We have arrived. We got 46 people still on. So hey, this is our first ever show after the show. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse, and this is Eric the Man Heisman. If you're watching, we need you to subscribe. We really do. And not only do you need to subscribe, you need to tell 3 people that you know and tell them to subscribe, and then tell them to tell 3 people. And this multiplier effect will happen. And then we'll get to the magic number of 1,000 followers. There were some questions, Eric, that came up earlier. Someone had asked if we could name our starting pitchers for the 4-game playoff, but I don't want to name that right now just because I would like to see where we end up in the season to answer questions like that. This weekend, there are no pitchers announced for Friday. I know Garrett Cole is slotted to pitch one of the games this weekend, but I would have to look at the Yankees rotation who they're throwing against the Mariners this week to see who's in line, because I don't know the order of the rotation. I just know obviously Cole is their big guy. And the thing with the trade deadline, Eric, is I really think James Click and Jim Crane are talking about winning, and maybe winning at all cost. And if they do, does that mean that they're also willing to? Now, if they break the bank for a reliever, does that mean they're more prone to go and offer the massive money for Correa, or you think that crushes the hopes of Correa being signed?
Well, somebody mentioned earlier that if they go out and get Kimbrel, that means that they're not going to get Correa. I don't think that Kimbrel would crush the idea of getting keeping Correa. I mean, it wouldn't help, but I think it could hurt maybe bringing back maybe a Justin Verlander, maybe. But I don't think it would hurt maybe signing Correa. But I think Correa really depends on how much he's willing to stay here, because there's going to be other teams that are going to be throwing a lot more money at him. So it really depends on how bad he wants to stay here. And I know that you're on 610 today and you're talking about Francisco Lindor money, and 35 million for 10 years. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
he's not gonna take Lindor. I can promise you that. Scott Boras is agent. So those two things right there, him 350 and up. And I can say this with confidence in my mind. I think this is about as big a swing and miss, them not signing him before Lindor and if they don't get it done, as it was when Nolan Ryan left the Astros. When Nolan Ryan left the Astros, that was huge. I mean, that was a massive mistake by the Astros front office, and they were not willing to give him a multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract because they thought he was too old. What did he do? He went to Arlington, freaking crushed the league. He threw more no-hitters. He got 5,000 strikeouts, so on and so forth. He's now a Texas Ranger in the Hall of Fame. He would have been the first Astro in the Hall of Fame before Biggio and Bagwell. But to me, right, when you look at these big guys, you have Biggio, you have Bagwell. Correa deserves to be there. Correa, I believe, is out the door. The chances of signing him are maybe less than 15%.
It's just funny, these two tweets. I mean, these two messages.
Oh, Correa wants to leave. Correa is leaving.
No, Correa wants to stay here.
No, right. So he does want us here. And is he willing to give some sort of hometown discount? Can they structure a contract? Now, I know Tatis really is a hard comparison because he's much younger, but he got 14 years and it's a very team-friendly contract. Is there a way to give Correa his money and make it team-friendly? Because what happens in a few years when Yordan or Tucker come up for their big contracts, Yeah. And then you're shelling out.
That's the thing you need to look at. It's not really if you go get Kimbrel, it's not going to really affect the short term. Even if you re-signed Verlander for a couple of years, even if you re-sign Correa, it like y'all were talking about on 610, it's more the down the road, like Alvarez, the Valdez. You're going to have to re-sign Altuve, Bregman down the road. And Tucker. Well, I mean, you're going to have to pick and choose which one you're going to have to resign. And so Tucker could be one of the guys that could, I think Alvarez is going to be the big guy you're going to have to sign, because I think Tucker is going to be probably another, I'm not going to say he's not going to be a star, but he's going to be just another type of guy. I'm not going to compare him to I think he's going to end up being probably a Josh Reddick in his prime type of guy, maybe a little bit better. Hopefully, maybe a little bit better.
Wait, Kyle Tucker a little better than Josh Reddick?
Yeah, I mean, depending on how. I mean, hopefully I'm wrong, but I think that Alvarez is going to be the better player. So if you're going to ask me which one I would rather,
I see what you're saying. Okay,
I'd rather focus on Alvarez versus Tucker, but Tucker could come back, but you can't keep all these guys. So that's
you're right. I mean, we're not like the LA Dodgers or the Yankees who just seem to have endless amounts of money. I don't know how they get all that money to do what they do. I guess they're just willing to spend. But at the end of the day, I want to see Correa in an Astros uniform.
Yeah.
It's like when we were at the game the other day, and I looked in the outfield during freaking warm-ups, and I wanted to cry, literally cry, going, this may be the last year I see Correa, 6'4" Correa, standing next to 5'6" Altuve. I freaking love that picture. I love those two as a tandem, as a dynamic duo. It just fits. I mean, it's like a storybook. You want to tell your grandkids about it, and gosh dang it, it may not be a reality after this year, and it absolutely sucks to think about that.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Larry's right. The hometown discount died when they offered the 120 for 6 year, and I really think the Astros offered George Springer kind of a bad deal as well. And basically, he said, "Yeah, I'm good. Y'all have a good future." But I just think that the Astros have this number set in their head, and if they don't want to go past that number, so I don't know. We'll have to see. The Astros have opened Pandora's box, and now can they compete with all the Pandoras out there? I don't know. When the Yankees are willing to throw, look, 3D effect here, throw all the money.
Oh, okay. I was like, I thought you were throwing it to a Pandora, like maybe there was an ad drop or something. Pandora bracelets. You're like, all the Pandoras, Brett. Okay, my bad. Pandora bracelet. Anyways, for Mother's Day. No, I digress. But it would crush me to see Correa in a Yankees uniform. But what would be like in this alternate universe type of world we've been living in the last 2 years, and I'll kind of wrap it up with this. I see you wrap it up sign. Is Seager leaves LA.
I've been
LA
telling you this
signs Correa.
So how can you throw that at me, and I've been throwing it at you, and you'd be like, "Oh man, don't do that."
Well,
to me,
because Sully talked me into it. Sully said, so the Red Sox paid pennants to the Dodgers. They gave him Mookie and Price. The Astros pay pennants to the Dodgers. So they give them Correa. And I'm like, screw you. That's not going to happen. No, Correa either stays in Houston or he becomes a Kansas City Royal. Boom. That's how you keep him in Houston.
Okay. All right, guys. So make sure y'all subscribe to Locked On Astros on YouTube. We're trying to get up to that magical number of 1,000, and make sure you listen to us on Odyssey, on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll be back tomorrow. Go Stros.